Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. It's good to be with all of you here at Bay Life in the Brandon campus. It's good to say good morning to you guys, and it's great to say good morning to all of you at Bay Life in Riverview. We hope you guys are having a wonderful morning and enjoying your time and your worship there as well. Now, my name is Steve Frizzell. I'm the high school pastor here at Bay Life Church, and so it's always fun to kind of get to come and spend some time with you guys, and it's not that often that I get to hang out with adults. It's fun for me. I enjoy it, and so I'm excited about our time together. I hope you have fun with me too. All right. Now, we've been doing the series, Everyone Counts. Mark started the whole thing a couple weeks ago. Tom spoke to us last week, and then here I am kind of wrapping the whole thing up. And I just want to start by just telling you guys this. I mean, we've been spending 3 weeks talking about missions and going to the nations and poverty and taking care of the poor and everything like that. And here's what I want you to know. This isn't an infomercial for us to tell you that you need to sell everything, move to Africa, and learn a clicking language. All right? It's not the end goal of this whole thing for all of us to go all over the world. And I've probably told you guys this before, but I've grown up in church, and I used to go to this thing every year called Acquire the Fire. Anybody ever been to Acquire the Fire? You done that thing? Okay. Well, for me, I grew up going to that thing, and it was always a powerful thing. There's a couple things that always happened every year for me at Acquire the Fire. One was there would be that point where you'd hold hands with the people standing next to you, and you'd start to sway. During the worship, you'd start swaying, and then you get to this point where hands go up in the air, locked, and it was just a powerful moment as God was moving, and I cried and got saved every year at Acquire the Fire. And there would usually be at one point during the whole conference thing where I'd go out to my car and get all my secular CDs and break them or stomp on them or throw them like frisbees because every year I committed not to listening to secular music. And I know, that's what happened. But then there's also this other thing that happened every year where they would get to this point where they would basically say this, that you have to become a missionary and go somewhere. And they would always do this. My first year, this is what I remember, is the music was building, and they were talking about going out to the nations and leading people to Christ, and everyone's getting excited, and music's getting louder, and all of a sudden, from out of the back doors would come all these people walking with these huge poles and have flags from all these different countries and come walking out. There'd be tons of them just coming out down the aisles, every aisle, and making their way all along the front of the room. This is so embarrassing. I'm a professional, and I brought my cell phone up here. Can you hang on? Hello? Yeah, I'm preaching. Okay, you want me to say that? All right. I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry. Unbelievable. I don't know if you know this or not, but when you become a pastor, there's this thing that happens where you get a new phone. It's from the cell phone company Divine Line, and you actually have a direct line to God in heaven. And so sometimes he'll just call you to say things, and he just happened to call me while I'm preaching, but he knew I was preaching. So he had a message he wanted me to say. If your name is Chris and your last name starts with P, the answer is no. So whoever that's for, no. I'm embarrassed. Acquire the Fire. All right. Last service. Music, building, everyone's getting excited. Flags come out of everywhere, and they're lining up in front of the thing. And then this is what they would say: run to the flag for the country you're going to go and be a missionary at or go on a trip to. And I would sit there and go, and I'd stop because I didn't know what any of the flags were. Like, I didn't know what country they were. So I was like, oh, I don't know where to go. I failed that test in school, so I was like, all right. So I just stayed in my seat. I was like, well, I'm just not going to be a missionary because I don't know what flag's what. So we have been talking about going to the nations. We've been talking about this. And for me, I would sit in this Acquire the Fire thing. And I know this sounds bad. I'm going to sound like a jerk because I am. I'd listen to them talk about this and say, you need to go here, and you need to go to the nations. And I always went, no, I don't. Not me. Somebody else can. You know, those missionary people, because I had a stereotype in my brain of who missionaries were, and they were just like people who would go tent camping. Like, they didn't mind not showering. They didn't mind being dirty. They would eat weird things. They could go to the bathroom outdoors. Yeah, those were the people who I thought would be missionaries, and that was not me. If I went camping, it was in an RV. So, not me, but thanks. I just didn't really care. Just being honest, I didn't care about anybody else in the rest of the world. And I heard stories that, you know, kids are starving and dying in Ethiopia, and I'm like, that stinks for them. And I'll be honest with you, I heard my pastors all the time say things to me like, you need to go and be a part of evangelism and lead people to Christ and lead your friends to Christ. And I didn't care. I just didn't care. And for me, all the way up until about 5 years ago, being completely real and honest with you guys, I could care less about anybody outside of the United States of America. It just wasn't a big deal to me. I'd hear people say, oh, you should go here, and oh, you should do this, and I would hear them do the thing at the Choir of the Fire, and I was like, this is just like a big infomercial, and they're just trying to guilt me into this, or sell me on this, or tell me whatever, and I was like, I don't care. It's not a big deal to me. I think the problem was I didn't have the right motivation. I'd never really heard why we need to be a part of this whole thing. I never knew the reason biblically why I should care about the rest of the world. Now, if you talk to the students in the student ministry, anybody who's involved with anything that I have an opportunity to influence, you would know now that I care about the nations. You would know now that I do care about the poor, and God's done some stuff in my life, and I'm not going to say that I'm better than anybody else or I've arrived at anything. God's just been doing some stuff in me the last 5 years, and really it's been more of a humbling thing, and he's just messed me up, I'll be honest. And I just want to spend a little bit of time with you this morning talking about what God's been saying to me and what's kind of changed me to get from that place of not caring, because I'm sure a lot of us in the room are kind of like, that's good for you, Mark, Tom, and Steve, and the church. Go do your thing that you do. But that's not my deal. And just to be honest with you, I was there 5 years ago, just going, whatever, that's your thing. And I had dear friends and family members who were, doing different things around the world, and they would say, Steve, you really should be doing this. And I would say, no, I'm supposed to be reaching students in Brandon. That's my call on my life. And taking care of those people, that's your call on your life. But this is what I'm supposed to do. But over the last 5 years, I've learned some powerful things that have changed the way I live. One of those things is what Tom talked about last week, God's heart for the poor. I never knew how big of a deal it is to God that we take care of the least of these, and we take care of the oppressed and the poor, the widow and the orphan. I just never knew. And when I learned that and how that is all through Scripture, that changed me. It changed my heart and changed the way I live. And the other thing that I learned is what we're going to talk about today. And that there needs to be a different motivation for us to go to the nations. There needs to be a different motivation in us, even just when it comes to reaching out to the loved ones that are in our immediate community and teaching them and telling them and pointing them to Christ. Most of my life, I grew up in church and would hear one of two motivations as to why we need to be about evangelism and why we need to be going out to the nations and be a part of missions. One was, and you could get pretty excited about this, I used to get excited about it, is we need to get people out of hell. There are people dying and going to hell, and what are you doing about it? And so I'd be like, I got to get them out of hell. And so I'd get real excited about that for about an hour. And then it just went away. Next day, I didn't do anything about it. But in the moment, I was like, yeah, man, people are going to hell. That's awful. I don't want that. That's terrible. Let me do something about it someday. But it never really turned into me doing it that day.